This episode is presented in partnership with Derek's Mowers and Blowers. Derek's is a small engine repair business owned and operated by occasional racer and former OSS racer Derek Clark. Derek can make your small engine appliance or machine run as good as new with his no-nonsense approach to finding out the issue and helping you out in a jiffy. Derek can help make your lawnmower sing properly again, and while you're visiting, you can also find Klotz or Gulf oils. That's right. Derek is an authorized dealer of Klotz and Gulf oil for racing. Derek does amazing work with his customers and always keeps them up to date with any sort of delay or closure. Why we wanted to partner with Derek is because he showcases a small, successful Canadian business that he grew from the ground up. Derek has been a competitor in racing all across Ontario, but has also been a partner with the Ontario Sportsman Series, OSCAAR mod driver Bryan Batty, and our good friends at Patrick Brothers Racing. Check out Derek's Mowers and Blowers on Facebook and tell them that Stickers and Scuffs sent you.
Hi, this is Mario Andretti, and you're tuned into Cam, Graydon, and the team as Stickers and Scuffs podcast. They're true Canadian racing fans.
Hello, Stickers and Scuffs family. Cam K and Gray and Bun back with you. And this one we're really excited about because one thing that Andy Camrath told us that we had to do was to start talking modified. And so why not talk modified with one of the guys that's part of the OSCAAR modified division, doing pretty good in his number 39, and one of my favorite names in racing because it's clearly just the best. That's Bryan Batty, who drives the number 39. Bryan, how are you?
Oh, not bad. How are you?
Well, we're doing all right. We're excited to talk some modified racing and hear a little bit more about OSCAAR and hear more about your story as well. One of the things that we love to hear about. Obviously, got a couple guys that we know that like modified racing. Wally Wilson, man, that guy lives in the modifieds. So I got to figure out, Bryan, how did you get involved in, and why did you pick modifieds as your course of racing?
Well, since we moved to our asphalt racing, I think it might have been 2016 or so, we started off the Legends on asphalt. Then I just love the open wheels. It really keeps you on your toes because you can't lean on people like a late model or super stock or something. See people getting in with the fenders, getting dirty, right? But an open wheel, you gotta protect yourself. So you gotta be aggressive but passive at the same time. So it really puts another challenge into a driver's hands. So you got to be able to get through the field without tearing the front end off the thing, and it seems like that's starting to be a lost art. So
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think that we can kind of say about that is It is a skill that you got to have in an open wheel. You can't just go around barreling around because you got suspension pieces that are hanging out there. What was it your ever, because you said when you switched to asphalt, so where was your original start?
So we started kart racing down in Michigan and Ohio. A good friend of ours that works for Scott Steckley and runs his automotive shop got us into dirt oval karts down near Windsor. I believe it's Tilbury. It was a track called 5150. So he was racing that, and we thought, oh yeah, that's cool. Let's give it a shot. So we got a cart out of down south and ran our first race at a little indoor bull ring. It's like a little Bristol. Had about 20 degrees of banking, a tenth of a mile. And
All right.
it's called BMI Indoor Speedway in Versailles, Ohio. So we got her start doing that, and it was just a blast. You would pack 15, 20 carts out on this tenth of a mile, high banked little bull ring. And it was quite the introduction because we went out there, no practice, nothing, just a baseline setup. I just got thrown out there right with the wolves, and that's pretty much how my career's ever been.
And
That kind of laid the groundwork pretty well for your modified discipline. I mean, you got to stay off of everybody on a 10th mile. That, like you say, that is that's trial by fire when you're cutting your teeth, especially.
Yeah, it's I've always loved the really tight tracks because it really puts it into the driver's hands.
Absolutely, it really showcases your skills when you got them right.
Yeah, so like up here, you got your tight tracks like Grand Bend and Varney. So that really shows what a driver can do. Like it's not only just a car, the driver has the input as well, right? So it's I think it's pretty cool that we have those tracks up here that help groom the younger generation, which really, if you look at, say, the APC ranks, how many of those guys have came from divisions at Grand Bend or Varney, right? They all cut their teeth on these tiny little bull rings, fighting with every quarter of an inch of the track they got. And look how they all turned out, right? Anyone can drive around a big half mile and have fun, but you go on a little quarter mile, it really teaches you how to drive real quick.
Well, you were out there this past weekend for the OSCAAR modifieds out at Peterborough. How did that go?
It's the weekend's kind of a touchy subject, so I don't really want to get into it too much. But after Varney, our chassis took quite a toll on damage, and we seen a lot of stuff. We ended up all the front suspension, control arms, shocks, everything just had to get tossed. It was all junk. And so we rebuilt everything for the second or third time this year. We've replaced all the front suspension and threw her on the scales to go racing, and all of our weights were right out the window. That's when we really clued in how bad the chassis was hurt. So I kind of figured Peterborough, since we haven't been there in 4 years, we have no notebook there. So we're kind of going in there blind. So the car was kind of unstable all day, just trying to catch up and get the car back to how it was, which at this point, it won't ever be the same as it was unless we put a ton of money into it, which we don't really have the time or money for right now. But yeah, we were kind of tripping over our own feet all day, which is really not like us. We always aim to have a really nice, stable car to work on, and it's just all day, just fighting for grip out there. We just couldn't get any side grip in the car, slipping, sliding all over the place. Just don't have the horsepower to try and make passes down the straight. So all the corners, all we got with our little crate motor, and we didn't really have much corner speed in her for the weekend.
That's unfortunate. I mean, like, yeah, as you said, I saw your post about it too, and it's just heartbreaking when you have to like go to the drawing board once, but you've had to kind of hit the reset button a couple of times, and that's unfortunate. But let's spin that in a way where, I mean, you guys are not, I mean, racers as a whole are not foreign to having hardships and overcoming adversity, but you guys you buckle down and kind of that never give in and never lay down kind of thing. Talk about that when you have a support group, albeit maybe it's just a couple of guys or whatever, but the people that help you out and want to see you get back to the track next week.
Yeah, we definitely don't have a big crew. Like really, it's my dad, he does what he can. He works freaking 12, 14 hours a day, and he just turned 60 a couple of weeks ago. So we're trying to take as much load off of him as we can, because really, I gotta try and get him to slow down a little bit, and he just work nonstop. Like, I guess that's where I get it from, and he's got that never quit attitude. So no matter what, he wants to just get right in there and get her done. So I got him. He a lot of the time he'll drive the truck to the track for me and stuff, so allows me to sort of rest up a bit. And my buddy Brian Moore, he actually probably just left maybe about 20 minutes ago. From we were out working on the cars, and no, he's came a long way. A couple years ago, he first helped us when we were building the modified. We were having some issues getting stuff to fit. He came by and helped us because he's got some mechanical knowledge from some dirt racing he did way back, probably when I was just a toddler. So he's got some experience there. So he came on and been teaching him the ropes of asphalt racing and modifieds, all the fun stuff, quick change, wide fives, nice motors, and taught him so much. Now his kid's addicted to it, and he actually collected beer cans and bought his own micro sprint.
Nice.
So, that, and we got another couple friends that help out every now and then. Aaron Gregory, he's a co-worker of Brian's. He comes by and helps when he can. Then of course Greg Gibson, he gives us a lot of advice. And when I can't make a decision on, like, if I can't make up my mind on something I want to try or changes, I'll ask him, and he's got the experience. He helps me out a lot. He's definitely turned our program into something that I'm enjoying to do again from struggling.
Well, and did you ever envision that you would be essentially, you're in the points championship battle right now? Like, you're second in points to Jason. Now, Jason's been around this deal for a while. Like, he's been in the modified game a while, but I'm very kind of curious. Obviously, TJ Edwards is somebody as well that is probably, I'd say he's been the most competitive AJMs. And you've been in a part of this division. I think I remember back in Ducas in 2019, you were driving the 39, but there was just a black 39 mod, and that division seemed to be very, very competitive. Where's OSCAAR's division right now for the modifieds? Is it along the same lines as where it has been? Is it taking a little bit of a hit? Is it rebuilding? Where do you feel the level is right now?
Well, right now I feel like it has taken a hit. Like, as Camrath has said, the division deserves a lot more attention. We have the running costs and speed of Pro Late models, which are easily the most sought after series in Ontario. The APC guys, they put on a phenomenal show. We have all the same operating costs and stuff to work with as them. And really, it's modifieds can put on some fantastic racing. I've noticed in the past couple of years, and not just modifieds, but all series, is everyone is just getting way too aggressive, driving over their heads, and that's really hurting car counts. I can think of at least half a dozen cars that are just parked just because they don't even want to fix them anymore. It's just not worth the time, the effort. Like, I've put maybe at least $5,000 into the program this year, just keeping the car on the track. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard. And like, I work 2 jobs. All my crew guys, we all work full time, like blue collar jobs, getting our hands dirty all day. So to come home after say 10, 12-hour day, go out in the shop and wrench on cars till 11 or 12 at night, it takes a lot of toll on you. And that's probably why a lot of guys don't want to come out, is because what's the point of putting all this effort in if someone's just going to go and tear you up next week? So it's not modifieds in general. It's everyone.
There's a racing
across
problem.
North America. Yeah, it's a racing problem. Everyone's just driving over their heads and not thinking. And
so this is going to bring a great, interesting point. Then, Bryan, is okay. If people are driving in over their heads, are the penalties stiff enough for people that are doing so? Because ultimately, like you said, every division is seeing it. I almost feel like it's coming down from NASCAR Cup all the way down. Is they drive like that, they wreck those $1 million cars, and guess what? They've got another one the next week. That's not reality here. It just isn't. So do sanctioning bodies have more of a responsibility to make penalties a little bit stiffer for that?
Yes and no. The series can only do so much if the driver and the team is not willing to listen. That has been proven to us time and time again. I think we've been at this 11 years now racing. And you can say all you want to someone, but if they're not listening, there's absolutely no point. Like, we've seen it a lot this year alone, is every driver's meeting, we get told, don't do bonsai moves driving in to the side of people. If someone's on your inside, give them the room. Week in, week out, it's the same stuff. People driving over everyone for no reason. And it's just really frustrating. But there's only so much a series can do.
Yeah.
About I know my car, our radio setup is my spotter has the receiver that hears race control. So that way I don't have to hear race control yelling every single thing, because those radios are always just blasting in your ears, right? So it takes one thing out of my mind, is I don't have to hear every single thing. My spotter just relays anything that I need to know to me. So it filters it out and lets me focus on my driving. But I hear it time and time again from the spotter after we come off the track, like, yeah, they're telling that guy, get out of the way, leaders are coming, or something weird like that. And I've seen it a lot at Peterborough, the flag guy telling guys to get out of the way because they're holding up a whole pack of cars, and they just wouldn't listen. And if you give someone the bumper, they get mad at you. Like, well, if you're holding up a whole pack of cars for 5-7 laps or so, of course they're going to be mad, right? But I don't know. It is what it is. It's just a racing thing. It's kind of what happens this day and age. It's just how people think they need to race.
Right, you nailed it. Almost this day and age, it's almost people. I mean, you go on the highway, it's almost the same kind of mentality where, like, it's just gunners just trying to feel like they're more important, or driving over their head, making bonsai moves on the highway. It's just like everyone has just got all this pent up aggression, and me myself being able, as fan going into the driver's seat, I don't want to go in and tear up my car owner stuff, for one, but at the same time, it gives me a respect for the full-time racers like yourself that have to find that balance of driving, like you said, like being a driver and staying off people and really preserving and promoting the art of racing.
Yes. One way I've always looked at it is I'll race you how you race me. You give me room and respect, I'll give you room and respect back. You give the bumper to me, I'll give it to you. It is what it is, basically. I found the biggest issue with modified in general is the guys that watch the Wheelin' Modified Tour in the States. those guys, they'll take these $150,000 modifieds, drive through each other for 150, 200 laps. They'll just be absolutely destroyed. Like that would be a car from a wheeling race. Like you see how damaged they are. That'd be a season ender for someone up here.
Mm-hmm.
And people decide, oh yeah, they race like that in the States. These bars are for bashing. No, that's the biggest problem I found is everyone just thinks, well, they do it down there, we can do it up here. But no, really, because they're millionaires and they can just order not tubing. They can order pre-made parts. Up here, that's not really a thing. Like in us, we make all our Nerf bars and everything in-house. Like I've bought the benders, I've done all the stuff to do so I can build the stuff myself. So every time we come off the track, we got a tore up Nerf bar, the bumpers through the rad. It's there goes a night of our week, bending up tubing, notching it, welding it out. And then of course we got to paint it because we always take pride in our cars looking good. So
but I mean, that's the thing is that you have enough into it that you can justify having benders and that sort of thing, but it doesn't mean that you want to be using them every damn week because, like you say, you have your full-time jobs, you have like your family obligations and that sort of thing, and we all know that everybody that watches this that has a half a clue about racing is the racers that really want to be there basically make it their other full-time job. I mean, so we believe you like when you say you want to come to the track and have your stuff not only running well, you want it to look the part and everything too. But at the end of the day, it just takes so much more here in Canada. Like you say, you just can't order a box of parts that are prefabbed or whatever. And even if that was the case, like that's not the right way to approach the racing for sure. So, I mean, I think there's going to be a time where there's going to be a reckoning because this can't sustain itself where people are just driving over their head. Like there's not going to be anybody left to race. I mean, it's not a process of elimination or survival of the fittest. It's meant to be head-to-head competition, and that seems to be what you're all about for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that we can look at is, I mean, and Bryan, and this is kind of, I think there was a lot of question in the offseason about what was going to happen when we do have some racetracks that want their own modified division and that they can regulate week in and week out the shows and maybe limit the budgets on how many people, how far people have to go. I almost wonder if that's also something that the tour has got to be concerned about as well, because if it does become too much of a cost as you're traveling as well, maybe the options become, oh, well, I'd rather just race at my own close, my home track or whatever. Obviously, you said that a great point was, comparing it to the US. And I think you're onto something, because I think a lot of series are very similar to this, and that we see a perfect example, like the bump and run has turned into something that was done once, and now people do it on a regular basis, but now people are all taking their own spin on it. And whether it's a dump and run or a move, or is it clean? Is it dirty? Is it this? Is it that? And you have people on different sides of it. I think the best way that we all kind of want to see is clean racing. You mentioned a place that you just came from that, Peterborough has had that, but when you're telling me you're racing up at full throttle as well, I'd imagine that's also a really hard place to get to learn, because it seems like contact would just come naturally there. But the way that kind of you described it is that it's actually a really good learning tool for racing in general.
Yeah, like actually, when we went to full throttle, I think we ran there twice with the Legend car back when they had their Western Ontario Legend Series. And we loved the track. We went, I think it was 30 or 35 laps. I can't remember exactly, but we went green to checkered both times.
Wow.
I think we might have only had 10 cars, but green to checker to that track, holy, it was a blast. So when we heard it was back on the modified schedule, we kind of had mixed emotions about it, because one, I love these tight little bull ring tracks. They are so fun to get around. I love the high banking, the way it just plants the car right down. And
Yeah.
oh, it's just an unreal feeling.
Yeah.
But then I thought, like, sure, we can get around it and we can get around it good. But what about all the other cars that are showing up? And that it showed itself. There's a lot of guys out there just overdriving it, and like in the heat races, we got put in the wall. Well, we got wrecked twice in heat races. We got just absolutely dive bombed in the first lap of the first heat, and then second heat, the guy on the pole jumped the throttle a little bit, got squirrely, and then the same guy drove into us in the heat, drove through the back of him, shot him up the track, and put us in the wall, ripped all the right front apart, and somehow we managed to actually limp it to a heat win. But if it wasn't for the banking of the track, there's no way that car ever would have made it around any corner. It was just absolute survival mode. It's Hail Mary at that point, and we had no idea how bad it was until we got off the track and realized all the right front was garbage.
Oh my God.
So you go from a place like that to Delaware. Like, when you think about, it's crazy how you're talking about this, because you're literally going from a track that, to me, I still look at it and I don't know how people don't crash every single corner, because it is just so tight. Then you go to a place like Delaware, where I think it's deceiving, because it looks like you have a lot of room, and then you get down to it and you really don't have a ton of room to race there either. But talk about the difference between going from a place like Full Throttle and Peterborough to now all of a sudden to a bigger track in Delaware.
Well, personally, I love Delaware. It's so fast, so fun to get around, and some of it might be the fact that it's like 25 minutes from my house. So
Yeah,
I grew up. I grew up watching Dave Whitlock and them race there. Every now and then the CASCAR guys would come there, right? My dad drove the hauler for Whitlock, so.
Oh, right.
So
nice.
It was pretty cool. I get to go in the pits after the race and all that stuff, and.
Nice.
But yeah, I kind of got my love for racing at Delaware, so it always holds a spot in my heart. But yeah, going there is just a blast. You're sending it in there just so fast, and there's not a lot of room for error, that's for sure. And yeah, then you go to a place like Varney and Peterborough, where you're not going as fast, but you had to have finesse.
Right.
If you can have the best equipment in the world, but if you don't know how to drive, that's you got nothing, right?
So then
driver skills or parts bills.
What would you say then, Brian? Is this division then? It's not a starter division? It's something for guys that have a little bit of more experience.
Yes, it's yeah, like it's almost up there with the Pro A models.
Oh yeah,
I think it's underrated, like modifieds in general.
Totally.
Like they deserve so much more love for what it is. Like the modifieds used to be so just strong up here, and it seems like it's just died off in general in the past couple of years. But it is what it is, right? It's tough times up here in Canada. Our economy sucks. Our like part prices are ridiculous. I think we had to buy a box of rivets or something, and I can't even remember what it cost. I don't want to remember what it cost. And,
yeah, it is, but it's a tough, like, the one thing that race fans typically do forget, and I'm guilty of it too. I think Graydon, we've said this, like, we're guilty of it. You think about the show, and it's all about the show. You don't understand how much goes into the show and how much money racers like yourself. That's why we wanted to start focusing on the grassroots racer, because the stories are just as important of the guys in APC and in Pinty's. They're actually even a bit more interesting, I think, to both of us, because you guys are, well, you can't say we're the same type of worker, but different types of jobs, out working two jobs just to be able to be able to do this. People don't pay attention to that. They don't think about that. And we want people to realize, hey, guess what? You like racing. If you want it to last, you need to support it. That's the reality.
Yes.
It's tough. And now you've got obviously the OSCAAR hot rods. You guys partnered in with OSCAAR modifieds and hot rods, now part of the United Racing Series, puts you on the same in the same kind of category as them. I personally would love to see more of them all together at events. I think that's a great bill, a great card. Obviously, you guys kind of do kind of whatever. Is there a track for you guys in the modified division that you'd like to go?
Oh man, I'm not sure. I'd love to go back to Jukasa. It'd be awesome to see that place make a return again.
Yeah, and we were saying, like, just due to the age of the paint, like it would race better now. Eh?
It would race way better now.
Yeah, now it's weathered a little bit. It definitely adds more interesting factors.
How was it racing that before?
I didn't really have much of a car to work with, so I honestly can't remember.
Well, yeah, I do remember
fast, that's for sure.
I do remember watching that race in 2019, and yeah, I think you and Gary Elliott were kind of racing with each other most of the race, and JR was in Kelly Balson's car, and I'm gonna I think it was John Harper.
Yes, yeah,
would have been his final win, I think.
Yeah, I believe that was John's final win, and he passed away sadly a couple of days later.
Yes, yeah, but, and that's really kind of he meant a lot to the modified scene and racing in general, and unfortunately that took place, but it is a memory I will never forget. Obviously, first time ever seeing a modified race, and you guys are out there putting on a great show. It wasn't a wreck fest. It looked like it was a lot of fun. That's the one thing. The modifieds, you guys, I've seen a couple modified races. I was lucky enough to catch Autumn Colors last year and see the modified race there too. And what's the end goal for you, Bryan? Obviously battling for championship with Jason Keane, only 11 points right now, it looks like. I don't know if the site's been updated since the last race, but Dale Reinhardt's right there with you, and Norman Newman. But aside from this year, after the championship battle is over, are there plans for you for next year to return to the mods, or not sure what you're going to do heading into 2024?
Right now it's kind of all up in the air. Like, this year's taken a huge toll on me as a dad, just as a person, a driver, like everything, right? It's like I barely get to see my kids. I work, I come home, I get to see them for maybe an hour before supper. Then after supper, they go to bed, and I go at work on the car. So I really don't get to spend any time with my family. So I think next year I might step back to part-time, just to be able to actually enjoy life again. Because like right now we have to work so hard to be able to keep up with these teams that have so much more resource and availability to like crew members and stuff. We're just running ourselves into the ground, basically, like doing everything we got with whatever we can get. And it's definitely a really tough year mentally and physically. Like, I've been burnt out since, the first race of the year. I've been burnt out since then. Just nonstop issues, catching stupid little issues here and there, having to pay a lot to replace parts. Before we even went to the first race, I think we had to rebuild the entire fuel system and a bunch of other odds and ends, just because the safety rule updates added in the fuel check valve. And we had quite an issue with that. We bought a brand new check valve, and right off the bat, it ran perfect. Got to the track at Delaware to scuff our tires and shake the car down, and instantly issues. Right off the bat, it was frustrating. I think we made 2 or 3 trips to Delaware before we were even able to get a complete lap in. It was really frustrating. So we ended up just tearing out the entire fuel system, everything except the fuel cell, and replace everything. And eventually it figured itself out, and we think we just might have just a few little odds and ends in the fuel system that were just kind of contributing, helping to cause one problem. But it's been all year just fighting stuff like that. I think we've been through 2 transmissions this year. Had to rebuild the clutch because it was absolutely toast. Right now, the bottom of our car is so beat, I'm going to have to actually grind out and re-weld a couple welds on the chassis before we go to Sobel in 2 weeks. And I can't even think of how much tubing I've had to buy this year just to replace Nerf bars and bumpers. We went through a set of quarter panels. I don't know how many control arms, tie rods and stuff. It's just been a really tough year. And like mentally, it really beats the crap out of you because you just work so hard. You don't get to spend any time with your family and all the work. And you go to the track and then someone just drives over the head and tears up all your hard work. And like, what do you do other than go home and spend another 2 weeks rebuilding and fixing all your hard work and just pray someone doesn't do it again in the next heat race?
Yeah, that's pretty much all you can do. And it's we have that level of respect for you guys that, I mean, as you said, it's a grind. There's no 2 ways about it. I mean, you're still here, you're up there and in the points conversation for the season championship. It is, as you said, it's kind of the unsung hero of the motorsports world, because it's an old discipline in terms of modified racing. When you talk grassroots, it's almost as grassroots as it gets. And you really, to your point that you've said all along, you have to have a degree of talent to not wad them up. I mean, wheel over wheel. It's like the Pinty's cars without their bodies on them. I mean, you guys are right out there. Like, there is nothing, not even like fiberglass skin. So, I mean, it does lend itself well to having the finesse, like you say. And it's great to see, albeit, I mean, as you say, it's been a grind and it's been a war this season, that there's guys like you out there that have that belief and that discipline to be that standard of racer where you want to be the guy that stays off of them and can pass them clean and not just run through them for a position. So credit to you, man.
No, thank you.
Well, obviously, one of the things that we like to do on our podcast is give you the opportunity to thank the partners on the car, the people that get you to the racetrack each and every week, because we said it is such a grind for you, especially this year. And the season, as crazy as it is almost over. It's already gone pretty well. But Bryan, we want to thank you for coming on and give you an opportunity to thank those people that have helped you out and live out your racing dreams.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. It's definitely cool to be able to do this type of stuff. About 10, 11 years ago, I never thought I'd be doing podcasts with guys like you or any of the stuff that we're doing right now, like running second in points in such a tough division. Like, it is really cool. And yeah, we wouldn't be able to do it without any of our partners. Well, Canada Welding Supply, these guys came on this year. They're just an awesome bunch down in Mississauga. They got a pretty big warehouse, and honestly, it surprised me. Like, I think they're gonna have to expand soon because holy, that place is packed. And we got a bunch of local companies that help us out and partnered with us this year. Harrington Excavating here in Arkona. We got Stone Picker Brewing Company. They, of course, give all our guys some nice cold beer to drink while we're thrashing on cars all week, right? What is racing without enjoying a cold beer while you're having fun?
Got that right.
yeah, we got a lot of guys like that that help us out. And Lloyd's Paving, of course, our family business. If it wasn't for my dad and Lloyd's Paving, we wouldn't be able to do this. They supply the truck to get us to the track, and yeah, they really, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do this. Then, of course, we got our Popalock, Sarnia in London, Griffin Auto Tech, Broadway Service, VMS Rod Ends out of the States. They were huge into the Legend cars. So we dealt with them a bit back in our Legend days, and now they're on board of our Modified, which is pretty sweet.
Awesome.
And I was going to think Derek Mower and Blowers, Derek Clark. He is a great guy. I actually met him through Brian Moore, my one crew guy, and he is just a phenomenal dude.
Yeah.
And he'll give you a shirt right off his back. Anything that he can do to help, he will do. It's a pleasure dealing with him. Then lamp and dippings and coatings. Wilds Printing, of course. Jason always keeps my stuff looking nice. He gave us some pretty cool suits. I've never been a fan of custom suits really, but I'm loving mine. So
yeah, I can't say I'm opposed to the Batman on the back of the Batman symbol on the back of the mod. That's always I was like, that's a perfect way to sell Bryan Batty. I love it. Absolutely love it. And we always look for people that to come onto the podcast, and you were somebody that we really wanted to hear from, being a part of the OSCAAR modified division. And obviously we're sorry that things haven't been as easy for you, but a championship could make it all better. So
it would definitely make all this feel like it's doing something. So
well, we want to make sure that people follow along with your story. Do you have social media that people can follow along with your race team?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page and an Instagram, both under Batty Motorsports. Of course, it'll have our cool little bat logo as the profile picture. I've been slacking on it a bit. We've just been thrashing so hard trying to get these cars done. We got 3 out of our shop. So to try and keep on top of the maintenance, fabrication, setup on 3 cars that race in different tracks just constantly, it definitely makes for a challenge. So I have been slacking on the social media. I really got to pick that up, or maybe I'll have to get my wife to do it. I don't know. But but really, I really do need to pick up on the social media thing. It's such a huge thing these days. And
you've been pretty busy though lately, man. As you said, it's and you had the opportunity here to kind of catch everybody up on what it's like, kind of behind the scenes. When, to Cam said, like behind the scenes of the show, it takes all this to bring those cars to the track. So, man, we really appreciate you being real with us, and also talking about just how cool it is to be a championship contending race car driver in the OSCAAR Touring Series. I mean, this is what we live, and we tough out all those long winters for. And man, thanks a lot for your time.
Oh, well, like I said, thanks for having me, guys. It's definitely cool to be able to do this stuff. I've never seen this stuff ever happen in my career, so it definitely is neat.
Well, now you're stuck with us, so too bad. We're like feeding raccoons. We just stick around now.
Next thing you know, Mowers'N must be right around the corner. We'll be bugging you there too. So
I'm fine with that.
Bryan Batty here on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. We'll catch you all next week.